Three, two, one, let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Roundtable with the Full Frame Kicks channel. And tonight we have our co-host, as always. We have Leon. He's going to say hello in a minute. And we also have Andy. And we have a very, very special guest on tonight's show. And I really appreciate her time. We all appreciate her time. And this is Giulia. And she is going to talk about herself in a minute and her sister Sneakerhood and everything about the community tonight. That is what this show's about, the community, how we have kind of connected, where we are today, and, you know, what it's done for all of us. So, Leon, hello, welcome. Andy, hello and welcome.
Hello, back again. My name is Leon Avery, under the Instagram handle Not Leon Avery. I'm documenting my journey throughout the trials and tribulations of setting up a footwear brand for the very first time, from everything from design to logistics to legal stuff to actual production. You can see it on my page.
Good day, everybody. I am Andy Wilson, the Sneaker Dog, also known as the Sneakonomist, concentrating on the business and the financial side of sneakers. And tonight we're going to talk why these companies are not too big to care about the community.
Yes. And Giulia, our fantastic guest, the stage is yours.
Hiya, I'm Giulia. I am a professional in the sports and professional gaming business, but I'm also one of the co-founders of the Sneaker Sisterhood, which, as I'm sure we'll talk about, is a community for women from all walks of life to talk, discuss sneakers, and be creative around the industry as well.
Excellent. So let's kick things off. Sneaker Sisterhood.
Yes.
Who created it? You're a co-founder. About the community. I want to know more about it.
So Sneaker Sisterhood, the way it came together was actually through pickup days at Selfridges. One day, one of my co-founders, Chelsea, messaged a bunch of girls. It was one of the first Air Jordan 1 releases for women, the Blue Chills. Messaged a bunch of girls to see if we wanted to take some photos together, and plenty of girls showed up that day, and we all got talking, created an Instagram chat, and there was really like a lot of conversation. We realized that a lot of girls felt that before that moment, maybe they hadn't really had the opportunity to meet other like-minded females. We were all kind of these islands that didn't know that there were other women that loved sneakers just as much. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So it was about 30 of us in this group chat, but then 4 of us just decided to take on the more admin side of running the page and actually creating something a little bit more substantial. We all brainstormed together, the full 30 of us, in terms of what color we thought the brand should be, what the name should be, and we came up with Sneaker Sisterhood. And then us 4, so Jules, which is Crown Jules on Instagram, Jay, which is House of Jay, and Chelsea, which is Chelsea Donna on Instagram, are still working on it now, nearly 3 years on, which is crazy. And we do a number of things. We have our Instagram page where we post both our own content with our more local sort of like London community, but also UK community. So in non-COVID times, we'll meet up, do some creative shoots and just mingle and have some fun together. We're lucky enough to work with some brands, so we will post out content that we do with brands. So for example, right now we're doing a little campaign for Adidas on the basketball side, as myself and Jules play basketball. And we also showcase women from across the globe that have our same interests. And then we have our Facebook group, which is more of a discussion forum for people to give us their ideas, thoughts. People can buy and sell, usually as close as possible to retail as we can. And now we've just started a Clubhouse group, which allows us to host some talking sessions to, again, discuss other topics and have something that feels a little bit more community-like, rather than just typing away behind a keyboard, behind a screen even.
Amazing. I love that. That is interesting. You have been at it non-stop since the start. Couple of things. That Blue Chill, was that picture that popped up recently, I think, where
Yeah,
you.
I have a feeling that Offspring or someone reposted it
Yes,
recently.
that was it. I think where you all sat outside on Edward Muse at the back.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a great picture. That.
yeah.
And where was it going to go? My train of thought. That was it. You've been doing so much with that, and it sounds great. And a bit like with us, the Real Soul family, which we'll touch on in a bit. That whole community thing. Now, obviously, Sneaker Sisterhood, it's women only, but obviously anyone can follow the page. You're going to follow it. Have you got anything kind of behind closed doors, you know, on Slacks or in any team groups or anything, just with the ladies?
We used to have a Slack. We no longer have that because we felt that it just had too much going on and it was a little bit dispersive. So the smaller group tends to talk on Instagram. Our larger group is on Facebook, but again, men are welcome. Actually, we prefer when men also join the conversation because unless we have male ideas and support as well, it's hard to get anywhere. But yeah, it's mainly those channels.
So,
Amazing.
Go on, Andy.
all I was going to say was that, so you say it's been going for nearly 3 years. So you were obviously established enough pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What have you felt, aside from the obvious, how has it changed? And do you think that your community, if we call it the sisterhood as a community, how has that changed? And do you think it's grown stronger, or do you think it's sort of, sort of meant you've sort of reduced it a little bit?
Yeah, it's difficult. And I've spoken to my co-founders about this because every now and then we'll go through these lulls where we don't feel like people are as engaged. And we're always like scrambling our brains like, oh, what can we do to keep people engaged and keep them falling in love with this industry and with this community? And it's difficult because I think people get disengaged for a number of reasons. And the pandemic has had many issues. And the sneaker industry in my opinion, has grown so much during this pandemic. The interest has skyrocketed. Way more women have come into the game, which is great to see, but it also means that women that have been in the game for longer are picking up less, so feeling more disengaged. So I think that's been the main issue. And then people taking breaks from social media, needing less screen time because all we do is sit in front of a screen now, means that that is the only way to stay connected. So for example, I came off Instagram for 2 months back end of last year, and you feel like you've lost your only connection to the community when you can't meet up with them.
Especially now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's difficult. It kind of depends who you are and how you are as a person, whether you thrive in online communities and enjoy that, or whether you would actually pull away and just don't feel as comfortable. So I think for some people it has strengthened it, and I think it's strengthened a lot of our cross-country relations. So I've built like really good relations with girls back home in Italy, which have now started pages called, I think it's called in her sneakers or something. More women, female pages from different countries, great links with the US. But our local community, I feel like us 30 girls, which were the core, haven't felt as close and as engaged because we just haven't been able to hang out. And that is what we built it all on, was the fact that we didn't just want to hang out in the setting of sneakers. We wanted to hang out because we actually like each other and our friends, and we want to go to the pub and have a laugh and have a chat. And if we can all wear great sneakers and take some pictures as well, then that's a plus.
So to interrupt, so you were talking before about using Clubhouse to basically reinvent some of that original feeling, right? Is that something that you're doing fairly regularly as a way you can point people to what kind of rooms you might use?
Yeah, so we've hosted 3 rooms now, and in theory the rule on Clubhouse is once you've hosted 3 rooms you can then start a club. So we were hoping to start a Sneaker Sisterhood club so then people can get notified and stuff. But right now, Clubhouse is no longer taking applications for clubs.
Yeah,
so
because there's too many applications.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait a little longer. So for now, the rooms come out of my account, but you can ping people in that you're connected to. So we usually get about 25 to 30 people in the conversation, which is good. And as I was saying before, the app is quite heavily US focused, but it's so interesting to get women from the US to join the conversation because they have completely different experiences depending on where they're based in the US. And I feel like taste in sneakers can also be quite different. It's great to engage with a number of different demographics, because I'd say that Sneaker Sisterhood is quite heavily millennial. But on Clubhouse, we get some baby boomers, we get some Gen Z, some Gen Y. So the conversation is really quite different to what we have on any of our other channels. And we actually get quite a few speakers from Asia as well, which we haven't quite nailed yet. So it's interesting. We had someone from Korea join us yesterday. So yeah, it's a good way to build out that community feel, definitely.
Yeah,
and you mentioned as well that so Sisterhood is on Facebook as well. So is that just called the same thing as Sneaker Sisterhood, right? Would you say that's the most active area, or would you say it's the Instagram?
So Instagram is our most active in terms of we have the most followers. Obviously, I think we have about like 6,000 followers there, and we have plenty of women tagging us, DMing us. I think it's easier interaction. Facebook, I think we have about 250 members, and it's where we flesh out more of the conversation. But during COVID, I think that's been the hardest, both for us as admin to have content and arguments to put out, because I think we're all a little bit burnt out. So usually Jules and I, Jules is very good as well. She wants to get more into writing. So she'll write some like big Sunday pieces with some good topics to discuss. But then sometimes you feel like people aren't engaging the way you want them to. So Facebook is tricky. We definitely don't have the levels of engagement of pages such as Basement, Soul Supplier.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's millions of there's a lot more. Yeah. It's kind of nice to have a more dedicated group, though, I feel a lot of the time, because then you actually get to know people a lot better.
And we try and do and find ways to keep people engaged. So we'll give prizes to like top contributors and stuff. But I feel like, again, there's these lulls where not that many people will be engaging. But obviously we keep it alive, and it's a good place for women to come to anyways.
So basically go and join the Sneaker Sisterhood page now, even if you're a man, and go and post some shit in there.
It's really interesting actually, because we do have guys on our forum page, and if we're discussing women's releases or releases in general, it's really interesting to have that male perspective and see what they might think of a certain release or what they might enjoy picking up from the female releases, because we love to split things by gender. So yeah, it's great to have men join the conversation, and a lot of them, well, I'd say most of the ones that are part of the group are really good allies for us, and they really support us in everything we do.
Sorry, Andy, I interrupted you.
No, it was actually probably me interrupting you. All I was going to say is that you do have, well, you see, you have a lull of people interacting, but also creating content. As we all know, sometimes you do have a lull in what you want to create. And for me, with the business side of things, I can have nothing for a week, and I can think, oh, there's nothing going on, and then suddenly I can have Nike earnings, and like we had Under Armour earnings today, and suddenly everything comes at once, and then you're having to think, oh, I can't fit it all in. So it fits and starts, but I guess as long as you're still enjoying it and you don't feel you're a slave and forcing the content out, and it helps obviously that there's a big group, or not a big group of you, but there's 4 of you that are sort of co-founders, I guess, that you can
and that's the great thing about being 4 of us as well, is that we all have quite different strengths, and we all work in quite different industries. So for example, I work in data analytics, and I'm like more on the nerdy side, so I always get what does Jules J call me? She has some stupid nickname for me. I'm always like banging on about Excel spreadsheets and so on, and keeping track of everything. And then we have Chelsea, which is a stylist, so she's more like on the fashion side. And then Jules is amazing. Sorry, Jay is amazing on the digital side. She does, I don't know if you guys have been on our page, but she's so good at doing all of our edits, all of our reels, all of our templates. Like, she is, first of all, she's crazy because she works only at night. She's a night owl. So I'll get messages from her from like midnight to 4 a.m. because she's like smashing out all the content. But she's incredible on that side. And then we have Jules, which takes all of our photos. So she's really like building up her photography portfolio, does a lot of our writing. So we all have our strengths, and it works together quite well to be able to be quite balanced in what we produce. And then usually we have quite a lot of fun whilst we do it as well. So that doesn't hurt.
Perfect.
And
I
that,
think to sorry, Jamie, go on.
you go and say that again quickly.
I was just going to loop back to what Andy was saying around how this thing changes during COVID. Obviously, we've been dealing with this for quite a long time now. For those who may not know, I'm one of the people that head up the Real Soul family, the social channels and sort of the community aspects of that. Before, that used to mean I would get mass ticket orders in for events. I would get discounts on that or free tickets here and there. The wonderful people at places like Crep City, Laces Out, Sneakerness were working with us. So that was the real fun aspects. And then obviously managing the behind the scenes groups, like we have a Slack. I know you mentioned you used to have one and it became a bit much.
I used to be in your Slack, but it was overwhelming, so I had to dip.
That's probably, yeah, I think it remains
right.
overwhelming. It has definitely, like, you do see the peaks and troughs, and I think
it's very calm at the moment.
The beautiful thing about community is that it does just peak and trough. It depends whether people are seeing each other and what's actually going on in that wider community. With COVID, not a lot. I mean, there's some releases, you still see some gems in terms of people helping each other out, you know, behind the scenes links and everything. But my kind of job within the Soul family is greatly diminished when we're not actually doing anything. What we were trying before is we were doing Zoom sessions on a semi-regular basis. I think we started out doing them weekly, but then it kind of filters down to just being the same faces every time. I think some people are maybe a little bit intimidated to show face or make that time for that. Have you tried anything in terms of Zooms and these video calls?
No, to be honest, I think initially, out of us 4 co-founders, I'm the most comfortable maybe speaking and being in front of the camera. So I do a lot of that. But
that's why you're here.
Yeah. But Clubhouse is where we've really seen a turning point. I think people are really comfortable not having video. So you can just be a total slob. Like I will usually do it lying in bed, minding my own business, eating biscuits and tea. So I think that's made people a lot more comfortable. And then it's great that also people can just tune in and listen and still feel part of something without having to contribute. Because I know that lots of people have kind of social speaking, public speaking anxiety. So there's no point in forcing them if they don't want to do that.
No, I couldn't.
I think all I was going to say very quickly is I think you said that it was initially everyone went a bit cold turkey. I think it's because, and from a business perspective, a lot of businesses were expecting COVID to be a first half 2019 issue. And they thought things were going to start to pick up. So we were stunned into, oh my God, we don't know what's going on here. Thinking, okay, this could be suddenly it goes from a 3-month thing to a 6-month thing. And then you create that new habit. And it takes, they reckon, about 60 days to make something the norm, a new habit, if you like. And then that then takes us into the second half of the year, and then we have adapted, and suddenly we probably find ourselves more dependent on phones and Amazon than we ever were. But anyway.
Yeah, and I also feel like initially at the start, and maybe this is a bit of a personal view, but I had a very hectic lifestyle. So I was working in Formula One. I was traveling a lot to races. I was just a little bit all over the place in terms of my schedule. So initially it was actually quite nice to have this sudden pullback of just being allowed to not do anything. I wasn't playing basketball 6 times a week anymore. I wasn't traveling every weekend. I was just doing me.
I know the feeling.
I like pulled back quite a lot from everything. And I think a lot of people did. And then it got to the end of the first 3 months. I was like, okay, I'm kind of done now with this long holiday. I'm ready to go back.
I couldn't agree more with you. I'm in the events industry, and I was events week in, week out, every night of the week, all over the place. And like you, completely stripped of everything and all of a sudden. So yeah, but it's been a really good chat. What I wanted to kind of take things back to is the core original kind of how we all got into this community. So I'm going to start off with myself. I am approaching 40 years old, and I've been in and out of the sneaker. Oh, git. I've been in and out of collecting sneakers, I would say probably since I was 12, 13. But you know what it's like, depending on what money you've got and what's going on in your life, where you're at with it. And then for me, it was, I started to see, because on my normal Instagram, I started to see a few things pop up with places like Offspring and Size and a couple of these companies where the limited edition sneakers were kind of, and the collabs were starting to kind of, you know, become more prominent. I'd say, what, 5, 6 years ago sort of thing. And then it kind of think, oh, this is interesting. How do I get more involved with that? So for me, it then ended up being creating my own sneaker account. And then from there, following only the sneaker world, and then having my feed like that, then winning, say, from Offspring, going there, meeting people, real soul family, and here we are today. And that's kind of where I wanted to jump back on. And I think it's just very interesting, that kind of, where did you get into that community and how did that originally start, sort of thing. Because it's an interesting place, because until I kind of created that sneaker account and I started really putting some time and effort into it, I had no idea it was there.
No.
Same for me. Sorry, Andy. So my background is sports. It's basketball. I started playing at a very young age. I played pro in Italy, and then played in the UK in D1. So that was my entry into sneakers, obviously from a performance aspect, but obviously Jordans, Kobe's, and so on. But back home in Italy, my community wasn't the sneaker community. My community was the basketball community. So everything revolved around that. Lifestyle obviously played a part in terms of, I used to buy the sneakers that I liked. Obviously the fashion in Italy was very different. So I used to wear Kawasaki. No, actually no. But we wore a lot of Onizuka Tiger. We wore a lot of Puma, like Monstros. I posted them the other day on my story, and I got so much abuse.
Oh no.
I was like, I lived in Puma Monstros. They were beautiful and they had Velcro. So yeah, obviously lifestyle played a part in it, but not so much. Moved to the UK. My mum got rid of most of my sneakers. So I gave that up for a while because I was quite upset and didn't feel like I wanted to really rebuild much. And then similarly to you, I wasn't posting, my social media pages were private. It was just me sharing my personal life. And then 2018, I went to New York, had a really good experience at Extra Butter in New York with some friends. And I was like, oh, I really miss being part of this. And my friends in New York were like, why have you stopped buying sneakers? Why don't you get back into it? And I was like, well, I still have like some of my pairs, obviously, but I haven't bought anything very hype in ages. And I guess Jordans, like I was buying Jordans 2013, 2014, 2015, but in Europe, maybe there weren't that many women buying that. So, but anyways, so from there, I then came back to London, started my page more of a just sneaker page, started interacting with Offspring, won my first raffle with Offspring in 2018. I think it was the Off-White Prestos, which was my first hype shoe in forever.
Jesus.
Maybe.
That's the first win.
Good
yeah.
win.
It was mad. It wasn't even my size. It was a size too big, so they were huge on me.
Well, hang on. Sorry to interrupt. To be honest with you, my first win with them was the Weatherspoons.
Okay. All right. It was good talking to you guys.
Back to Giulia.
And then it kind of continued from there. I was like, oh, actually, there is a community. Like people are interacting with me, and if I post what I like, I can build from there. Initially, I think I lost a bit of my basketball thread, and then I managed to weave it back in because that is what matters to me. And then I met some really cool, like-minded people. I say, unfortunately, I love them to bits, mainly guys. I'm yet to meet that many women in the UK that are really into basketball and sneakers like me. My co-founder, Jules, is one of them. And I thank the Lord every day that I can chit chat to her about stuff. But yeah, that was kind of my path through it all.
Amazing. Love it. Andy, Leon?
Shall I go?
Yeah, go on.
So I mean, I've told my story a few times on various different platforms. I won't go into it too much, but
yeah, but more touching on that community,
yeah,
you know,
of course.
where it got to.
Yep. So I would say I used to wear a lot of trainers and sneakers because I played so much sport. And then I started my career in the city, and everything else pretty much went on the back burner. I wanted to try and tie up what I knew from working in finance and the stock market, etc., and be able to link that into my other passion, which is obviously sneakers. So that's how my whole Sneaker Dog, and then now eventually the Sneakonomy stuff came about. Initially, I was completely new to Instagram. I was this whole sneaker community. It was kind of like, oh, what's this Offspring community? How do you become a member of the Offspring community? You know, the questions I'm sure most people ask when they first come on, this sort of stuff. And I must just shout out to Merkel Moan and Ash Bash Sneakers and Dean Still, who are the three guys that do the Half Size Up podcast. They've just recently started, and they're doing good stuff there. Those guys, they didn't take me under their wing at all, but I could badger them with probably what was stupid questions, and they would give me advice about things. But you know, you're saying you're almost 40. I'm almost 44, so that's, you know, I'm not wired in the same way as everyone else these days. So when people start talking about slacks or, you know, Playhouse and all this or whatever it is,
Clubhouse.
Playhouse would be
Little
much
legs.
better and more fun.
Yeah, Playhouse would sound a lot better.
Yeah, there we go. Just embarrass myself like a proper old dad. But that's
Oh, yeah.
you know, so that's where it started. And just to join the theme, this pair of shoes here, which are my Air Max 90 Desert Ores, were my first Offspring wing.
Leon is going home.
Solid win.
Followed by the Travis Scott Jordan ones.
Nice.
Very nice.
So I have to say, you know, the Offspring community was an online platform for me to interact with people and maybe break the ice initially, and then it was getting to know people and going to events like Sneakerness, like Crep City, etc., and then meeting people like yourselves that sort of grow it from there, really.
I've personally really had to, and maybe just for me, but I've had to cut back a little bit on my Instagram and what you were talking about before, Jamie, in terms of all your feed being sneakers and sneaker people. I've unfollowed most brands and most of the big pages like Complex, Nice Kicks, and so on. And I've also unfollowed a lot of people just because it gets too much. As much as I want to be part of the community, and I love sneakers, and sneakers are a big part of my life, it is not the sole thing in my life. And it was getting to the point where...
What do you mean?
You can't actually see what's important, can you? Because there's so much stuff coming through.
And it was so overwhelming. And it's like, do I actually care about all of these shoes? And it was getting to the point where I was thinking I was wanting shoes that I didn't even want, because you get bombarded with information. So now at the start of the year, I just decide what my 12 pickups, one a month for the year, will be, and I try and stick to that. That
is a great way of dealing with it. I'll come back to that because I've got a couple points on that.
Yeah,
fine. We'll talk when we come back to that, because I like that. That's interesting. But go on, Leon.
So I guess when I started in the community aspect, I started collecting shoes around 2012 after I was finally laughed enough out of my Slazenger Velcros to get some Rocher runs for PE when they were the hot new thing.
I used to love Rochers.
Yeah, they were the hot new thing. I had a colorway that was only in the US at that point in time. It was like bright red and silver. They would kick ass. And I actually got like so many compliments on that. I think it just propelled me into where I am today with shoes. Because it was like, it's gone from like a status symbol to just being something that I really enjoy having and feel good about having. With the community aspects of it, kind of similar to you guys, you don't really realize it's there. I'd been to like a couple of the things like SneakerCon or Crep City before engaging with a wider community, and I didn't even like have an Instagram for anything really. It was only around whenever the Off-White mentors were coming out that I was saying that I wanted them. I never got them, but it was French Crep, who, still love him, but he's a massive pain in my ass now, who messaged me way back then saying, hey, we've got this little group that we've just started. It was around like October time, that we're going to help each other all get shoes, and that's going to be like, no one's going to sell anything, we're all just going to help each other, and it's going to be this great thing. Like fast forward, what was it, 2.5 years, and that's where the Real Soul family is today. I think just being so heavily involved with that has really helped me feel like I am part of this wider community. I, at the same time, similar to you, Giulia, like I can't really deal with the hundreds of pictures of the exact same shoe, but on different people's accounts every time there's a release. I would love a way for like these social media sites to basically, you can put in like close friends for all the people whose stuff you want to see, and prioritize that over the brands that post like 20 images in a single day. So I try to unfollow all those and get, back to what the actual community is and where they are. But these social channels are just so bad for it. I remember there was somebody, I think it might have been Lowry Crook, who she had posted up a couple of questions just saying around like, what are your thoughts on engagement groups? And I'm actually, weirdly enough, I'm kind of for it simply because I never see anybody's stuff. And I want to actually engage with some of that, if it's not just the exact same shoe over and over, but it's like my friends, I don't even see their shit because some random repost page has just posted about the same shoe 5 times in a single day. So it is hard to feel like part of a community when you're not physically with people. I'm going off on a tangent a bit, but I really would like more ways to directly connect with the people that I already know, which is why I think with things like the Soul Family Slack, I'm very grateful for that. Recently, I was added to a Discord called Handmade Heat, which is basically bridging off of what I'm doing with my shoe stuff. I believe it's run by a guy called Air32. I was added in by, I think it was Playbook Customs who invited me into that, but it's several hundred people and they all DIY and do bespokes of their own shoes and everything, and they share like all these tips and all the resources and where to get stuff, and it is like this whole untapped other part of the shoe community that nobody even realizes is there, but it's huge, it's growing, and I think that's a rebellion against all the shit that these other brands are doing, where it's just so, it's either unobtainable or when you do get it, it's so naff, and people have decided I can do it better myself, and they are, and it's like this fantastic little subculture that's up and coming. So yeah, check them out, Handmade Heat. Check that out.
That's amazing, Leon. And what's actually interesting is, like you said, I think within the community, there definitely is loads and loads of sub-communities that have formed. Look at us right now, on recording a roundtable, which is going to go out on YouTube for anyone to have a look at. So you've got kind of the podcast community now, which is developing, especially over COVID. You've got the podcast, you've got the YouTube stuff, but then you've got, like Leon said, you've got that customization kind of, making community, designing community. Then you've got, cleaning community, for example. There's a whole world of like cleaning people. So it's definitely going all over the place, which is, it's good to see. But for me, I just can't wait to be back in a room of like-minded sneakerheads, just having a good drink, a good chat, take some good photos, listening to some good music. Because those events, those events are amazing. Some of those events, that Offspring are put on, like you said, even the Crep Cities. So no, it's just a good feeling being at those events with like-minded people.
How is it ever going to be the same?
Eventually. It's going to be a while, but we'll be back.
Yeah, it'll come back, won't it? I think we're never going to be the same again with regards to, you know, we're going to have to probably keep having, I don't want to go into a chat on COVID, but we're going to have to keep having some kind of vaccinations maybe, and they're even talking about us having to continue to wear masks for another year or whatever. So it is going to be weird. And I was actually speaking to Dan at Charside, I don't know, the big Air Max 90 collector, just before we came on actually, and I was saying it's probably going to be 2022 until we, because of the planning that needs to take place, it's probably going to be 2022 until we start to get some of these events going again. But I've probably, it would be interesting to see how many people I would actually know now going to one of these events, because the ones I've previously gone to, I've had, you know, groups of people that I know, but I've probably met so many more people over the lockdown period. I'm really looking forward to it. The other thing I was just going to say, when we're talking about can't see the wood for the trees, there's too much stuff. You almost have to pick a couple of accounts that you go to. So, for instance, randomly plugging CAF_official_Insta, who is like he's an absolute machine. And I don't need to worry about going to the Soul Supply, or even though he was on the Soul Supply today, actually. But randomly, but I don't, you know, if there's stuff coming out, he has it all. He has more than anyone else that I know. And I mean, I don't know how he does it, but I'm glad.
And the way that he does it works for me because he does it on stories.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. I just want to click through stories, and then I'll stop when I see a shoe that catches my eye. I just don't want my feed flooded with pictures of neutral gray ones. Like, yes, I get that they're coming out. I don't need all of you to post the same product pictures.
Exactly.
It's just overwhelming for my brain.
So true.
I mean, we wouldn't know that there's a trophy room coming out, would we? You know, I mean,
well, yeah, nobody's gonna get those.
Not a real one, anyway.
But Giulia, is that your only kind of account, sort of thing? Like, I know you've got Sneaker Sisterhood, but do you have like a personal Giulia account, friends, family sort of thing?
No, friends and family get my close friends list stories. Which is where all my stupid content
no, because obviously that's another thing. Like, I've got a kind of separate account, which is friends and family, and if I don't want to look at sneakers and trophy rooms all day long, then I can just switch accounts and go elsewhere, sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess a lot of my friends and family that sit outside of sneakers don't post on Instagram that much.
Okay, fair enough.
So whenever we are sharing stuff, it'll be in WhatsApp groups like, oh, this picture of where I've gone on holiday, so it doesn't really need to be on Instagram for me. And then people always think that they know me through Instagram, which is a little bit of the issue that I have with Instagram. Because I post a lot, and I do post a lot. By the end of the day, I'm posting pictures of my outfits in front of the mirror. So if that makes you think that you know me, it's a little bit worrying. So that's where I think community is important, because the people that are actually in a community and actually have two-way communication will get to know each other. Like one of our girls from the Sneaker Sisterhood is pregnant, and she's due to give birth next month. And obviously we haven't been able to throw her a baby shower or do anything, but a group of us got together and got her like a baby pair of Air Max 90s, and we got her like Sneaker Sisterhood bibs, like little Nike outfits. So that's where I feel like Instagram takes it to the next level, where you actually build those human interactions in that community, and then you become friends through it.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I want to say well, I really feel like Instagram is just terrible for actually getting to like the heart of a community. I know I kind of touched on it before, but the Facebook groups are 100% the way to go. Like, if you go to, I don't know, the main two that I would reference would be the Basement and would be Crep City Community. I feel like the Soul Supply stuff is, a lot of it is just mainly around, you know, here's the upcoming releases or prices and things like that.
Basement is pretty rogue.
Basement is, that's what I love about it, because it's actually so real. And like, there's a lot of people that if somebody posts something like, there's a number of like mental health posts that go through on there, or like my girlfriend's broke up with me, or blah, blah, blah. And you get a shitload of support that you physically see that going through. And there's people like Paola, who is one of the admins there, who I know does a lot of like work with trying to help even just like the most random person. I met him like last year, and he was just a real stand-up guy. And then with Crep City, it's like it seems like it's less active, but the 2 times that I've posted there, like plugging my stuff, I've gotten like 400 followers just from posting twice. Like, it is a real like gold mine of people who are actively engaging with the shoe stuff.
Yeah, genuine.
And they're kind of just waiting in the wings. And I don't know, I feel like maybe because Crep City is like, it's the UK institution, right? It's the last bastion of people who say trainers instead of sneakers. That's why it remains, you know, one of my favorites. And I feel like it's important that we still try to retain our UK elements as well, and kick out people like Giulia, who. But no, like I think because it all becomes so Americanized, there are some elements where, you know, I think we still need to remind ourselves that TNs and older Air Max and stuff should still get the love.
Yeah, definitely. Reebok classics.
Before Hypebeast tells us that we should only be wearing Jordan 1s. Yeah.
Can I just go on a note on Crep City and in general events, and it links back into the Offspring community and what they've recently done with Reel to Reel. Our suggestion from the Sneaker Sisterhood was to create an event, and obviously I don't know who this brand is that they're going to work with, so I guess that will play.
It's Nike, right? Like they put that in the thing.
Oh, did they announce it now?
I don't think officially, but it's pretty much we can kind of tell.
I feel like I saw something with like the Nike logo on it, and it was saying Rita Real. I can't look. I'm not the pillar of knowledge to do with these guys.
Anyway,
our suggestion, which I think is something that's really missing in the community now, and I feel like Crep City used to have this maybe 5 years ago, and it's fizzled out because at the end of the day, you'll have resellers that buy in bulk and want to resell in bulk, but now it's all about selling and buying. There's not much trading going on. And I know that the Real Soul family has the trading page, which is really good, but sometimes I feel like you guys get an influx of like 200 listings, and then you get a bit lost in the sauce, and it's hard to...
It's one guy running it. It used to be different people, but it's basically Air Max London. So Thomas, he's really
shout
great.
out Thomas.
He runs that entire operation pretty much by himself with help from
hard to do
bits.
Though online.
Yeah, but it's because it's such like a... People want to get involved just for the sake of being involved, and because there's like so many opportunities for personal gain, so he kind of plays it very close to the chest. Sorry,
like,
I completely derailed that.
No, it's all right, but I think it's great to have these trading pages, and I wish I could be more successful in trading, but with my size, which is a UK 5.5 or a UK 6, a lot of the trades won't usually be the smaller sizes, and by the time I've gone through all of them, I get bored and I don't want to do it. And then you rarely find people that maybe want to trade with what you want to trade, and people aren't maybe as open-minded about trading as they should be to get some decent trades. So our suggestion for the community that we think would bring the community forward and bring back that community element would be an event which is solely based on trading. So not only can you bring in what you want to trade, but ideally whatever brand is paired to it would have stock available to make sure that even if there's not someone with the trade that you want, there might be something else on the brand wall that you might be interested in.
So
that would be a cool event.
I remember this is something that SneakerCon used to do. They had like a trading pit, I think they called it the trading pit, as a side area.
Yeah.
The first time I went, I think it was free. The second time I went, you had to pay to like get into this separate section of the venue that, you know, you could go in there and you had no idea whether there was even somebody who had your size shoe, but you had to pay to get in. It was like just kind of ridiculous. I really like the idea of having an event where people would go to with their stuff just for trying to trade shit.
Because some of the best stuff that I have gotten is from trades, and I wish I could do more of that, because there are things that I would like to trade, but it's just really difficult. And I just posted on my story and I don't have enough people watching my stories. But for example, I managed to get my reverse shattered backboards Air Jordan 1s from a trade with my satin Air Jordan 1. and stuff like that makes me so happy, because I'm like, oh yeah, I got a shoe that I want. I didn't have to add extra cash. And the other person got a shoe that they also really wanted. And I feel like that element is missing now, because everyone's trying to one up you with some resale value.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the story for another day.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree. I think that's a really, really good idea. Hopefully it will come to fruition. We're going to wrap things up shortly because we need to crack on. Andy, you wanted to discuss a few business topics about the community, if you must, please.
I must. I will. I
Not
will
must.
I must.
Not must. I would love you to. We would love you to. We want to hear the finance, the business side, the crux.
I'll keep it. I'll keep it very, very brief. But what a lot of the manufacturers have been doing, and I bang on about this a lot, is DTC, so direct to consumer. It's a way that they can get their margin is much higher when they produce the shoe and sell it themselves, as opposed to selling it to a wholesaler. But also the wholesalers as well. That's why we're seeing big, like, super mega store Foot Lockers and JD Sports are getting bigger and more spacious. And you think about the old JD Sports, the old foot asylums, they were all crammed in. It was about really saturating the area with as much product as you could. But now they're creating these bigger places because they want to be able to appeal to the community. And they realize that no longer is it just a case of, here's this shoe that we've designed, you're going to buy it and we'll see you again in 6 months when you need to get another one, because people aren't wearing them to run trainers into the ground literally anymore. There's a lot of people are buying them as an athleisure accessory, and they're buying more and more, just like they might have used to for suits and shoes, etc. So one of the big pushes, and we've seen this particularly with JD Sports, where they bought Shoe Palace on the West Coast before Christmas, and they bought Downtown Locker Room on the East Coast. It's because they are they're entrenched within communities. I think I mentioned on one of the previous stuff that we talked about on Shoe Palace being heavily influential within the Latinx communities, etc., which is an area that JD didn't have that much exposure to. So you can go to these stores and you can play NBA 2K, whatever it is now, whatever the number is, 21 or 22, or and they can have events, they can have people there, that can they've collaborated with. They've got areas where people can go and print their own t-shirts, or you can go to a Champion store in New York, and then you can go upstairs and the whole room's made out of old basketball court wood, and you can go and you can customize a t-shirt that you bought downstairs. So a lot of the brands and the wholesalers are realizing, and they talk about this, we want to be closer with the community. And Under Armour said it today with their earnings, and I was listening into their conference call this afternoon, that they're just again talking about the community. And I think it's a big missing link, because so many people within our community that we talk to will say, oh, JD Sports, they're awful, their customer service is terrible. And if we're talking about JD Sports, we could be talking about Size, we could be talking about Foot Asylum, all these different brands under that umbrella. And I'm not pinpointing one in particular. And I know that Size can be very, very good at getting involved, and they were kind of bred more out of the community. I've seen some horror stories about Foot Patrol, and that's just because they can't keep track of where their stock is, and it's not linked up properly with their warehouse, etc. But I've been in JD Sports and picked a shoe off, and they go, oh, there's one left. They just can't find it in the stock room. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and it's something that I would love to try and be involved in. But it's a case of our community isn't probably big enough for a brand like JD or a brand like Nike to turn around and go, right, these guys need to be listened to, because they produce hundreds of millions of pairs of trainers if you're a manufacturer. So I just think it's a really important area that they need to do a lot of work on, because they're all talking about it. They've all been talking about it right the way through last year and the year before. And yeah, I just think it's very, very interesting. And we have a voice and we have a lot of influence on social media, and a lot of the hype is created by the smaller community.
Have you seen, sorry, just a note, the new Nike NBG app, which obviously won't be targeted at you because it's for Gen Z women. But Nike has found a way, direct to consumer, as you were saying. They've created an app which has pretty much the same look and feel of Instagram. They practically just want people to shop on their own app so they can collect all the data. That's where they're showcasing young women that are into sneakers and so on. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to build their own little community out of that. And then so many brands, whether it's FMCG sneakers or so on, are creating these market research tools, again, direct to consumer, where you can be part of the Nike Insider community and you're giving them direct feedback on everything that they want to know about for free.
Yeah.
Clever.
There's definitely going on there.
And then they send you
Sorry.
Go on.
I was to say about keeping people on the platform, and we've heard some of the big wholesalers in the US have said that they've seen the halo effect of people, so much more of their sales are being driven from their platform, giving people free
exposure,
people free content. We've been working out from home, so they can put free workouts on the apps and all this sort of stuff, and it keeps you entrenched. And as Giulia says, you collect and mine all of that information, and you can actually then tailor your input. And then there's a whole new thing of when are they crossing the line to almost spying on you. But that's a question for another day.
Totally. Great. Interesting.
Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that.
No, thank you very much, Andy. Thank you. I appreciate the knowledge, as always, coming from the top.
I feel like there's still so much to talk about. I know we're out of time, but it's like there's so many things that you can touch on with the community.
Should we do a part two?
Maybe.
Should we do a part two? Julie, you up for it?
I'm up for it if you want. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we get a few more people on, I think. I think we should do a sisterhood, Real Soul Family collaboration. So why don't we get a few more people on? You get a few of the girls on, and let's
there
make
might
this
already be some stuff coming up to do with that, possibly.
Oh, spoiler alert.
I mean,
spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I love it. I'm excited. All right, well, let's make this happen. I'm going to wrap this up because I know, Giulia, you have given us your time, which we really, really appreciate. And I'm going to let you go to get on with the rest of your evening. But definitely, we're going to make this again. This is going to happen again. I agree. There's a lot more to talk about. This has been fun. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was really fun, and I'm glad I finally got to meet people that I haven't spoken to properly yet. So again, community, right? So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Likewise. As always, you have been watching another Roundtable with Full Frame Kicks. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. You know, it always helps us out. I've been JP Kicks, and you have been...
I've been Andy Wilson, the Sneakonomist. There's lots of podcasts, but there's only one Roundtable.
I have been and remain to be Leon Avery.
Amazing. And last but not least, plug yourself for the final time, Giulia.
Giulia on Instagram, Giulia spelled Giuliaz 12, and Sneaker Sisterhood. So follow us for anything to do with women in sneakers.
Love it. That's been another episode of my Roundtable. We will see you again soon.